More of a team player, I repeated, my voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface. My heart pounded against my ribs, each beat a reminder of the injustice unfolding before my eyes. Victor Reynolds, my boss, leaned back in his leather chair. Behind the glass walls of the conference room, that insufferable smile still plastered across his face. I could feel the eyes of my colleagues on us through the transparent walls, their curious gazes, adding to the humiliation burning in my chest. Look, Nora, you're great at what you do, nobody's denying that, Victor said, gesturing vaguely at the digital performance metrics glowing on his tablet screen. But Alison, she knows how to work with clients. She brings energy to our team meetings. Her social media presence gives the company visibility. You're just too focused on results. Too focused on results. The words echoed in my head as I sat there, gripping the armrests of my chair so tightly my knuckles turned white. 5 years I'd given to this company. 5 years of early mornings coding until my eyes burned. Late nights, debugging until my back ached, and sacrificed weekends hunched over my laptop. While friends enjoyed their lives, I'd single-handedly landed our biggest clients with my technical solutions, streamlined our operations with custom algorithms, and increased our department's efficiency by 40% with systems I'd built from scratch. And now I was being passed over for a promotion because I was too focused on results. My name is Nora Hayes, and at 32, I learned the hard way that corporate success isn't always about merit or achievement.
Sometimes it's about playing the game, about knowing whose ego to stroke and whose coffee to fetch. Alison Porter was certainly good at that. She'd been with the company for barely 2 years, but she'd already mastered the art of taking screenshots of other people's work while doing virtually none of her own. Her Instagram was filled with carefully curated, working late selfies that conveniently never showed any actual work. I watched as Victor shuffled some papers on his desk, probably expecting me to break down or protest. The open video conference window on his monitor showed several executive faces watching our interaction with detached interest. My stomach churned with a mixture of disappointment and resolve. I understand, I said, tapping my tablet to send the file I'd prepared last night. His device pinged with the notification. And I appreciate you letting me know. I've just sent my resignation letter. My last day will be in 2 weeks. Victor's smug smile faltered as his eyes darted to the notification. This clearly wasn't the reaction he'd expected. A flash of panic crossed his face as he glanced at the executives still watching on the video call. Now, Nora, let's not be hasty just because you didn't get the promotion, he said, lowering his voice and quickly minimizing the video window. It's not hasty, I cut him off, my voice calm but firm, though inside I felt a storm of vindication brewing. I've given it a lot of thought, and you're right. I am focused on results. That's why I've decided to pursue other opportunities where that quality is valued. What Victor didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I hadn't just been working on company projects these past 5 years. In my cramped Chicago apartment, night after night while the city slept, I'd been building something of my own. Something that would make Victor's promotion decision look like the joke it was. As I walked out of the glass conference room, I could feel the eyes of my coworkers on me, their fingers already flying across keyboards. As the office chat channels exploded with speculation, my phone buzzed with notifications. Alison was already posting a vague celebratory message on the company Slack. I kept my head high as I made my way back to my desk, the satisfaction of knowing what was coming giving me strength with each step. The next 2 weeks were exactly what you'd expect in a digital-first workplace. Alison dominated the company Slack channels like she owned them, posting excessive updates about her transition into the new role. With perfectly filtered photos, she'd message me occasionally, her texts dripping with fake sympathy. Nora, I hope there are no hard feelings, she wrote one morning in a private Slack message, accompanied by a sympathetic emoji that somehow made it worse. I know you worked really hard for this promotion. I looked up from my dual monitors, where I was methodically downloading copies of all my work files to my personal cloud storage, not to steal them. I had too much integrity for that, but to ensure I had documentation of everything I'd contributed to the company. My apartment was littered with empty energy drink cans from the long nights I'd spent finalizing my exit strategy. No hard feelings at all, Allison. I typed back, my fingers striking the keys with quiet determination. I'm sure you'll do great. She responded with a smiley face, probably thinking I was admitting defeat. The sting of being overlooked still burned, but beneath it was a growing sense of freedom. She had no idea what was coming. The truth was, for the past 3 years, I'd been secretly developing a revolutionary project management system in my spare time. It had started as a way to keep track of my own work, but it had evolved into something much more powerful, a proprietary algorithm that could predict bottlenecks before they happened, and optimize workflows in real time. I'd tested it, refined it, and used it to achieve those results that Victor found so troublesome. And now, alongside my resignation letter, I'd included a detailed analytics report showing exactly how much money and time my system had saved the company, complete with vivid visualizations that even the most technologically inept board member could understand. The kicker? I also included a notice that I'd filed for a patent on the system 6 months ago. It had been approved last week, sending a shock of validation through me that still hadn't worn off. But that wasn't even the best part. A week into my notice period, I received an email from Gabriel Montgomery, the CEO of Innovatech, our biggest competitor. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the meeting request in my inbox. He'd heard through Silicon Valley's Whisper network that I was leaving and wanted to set up a video call. I smiled as I accepted the calendar invitation, the pieces of my future falling into place exactly as I'd planned. The video meeting with Gabriel Montgomery was everything I'd hoped for and more. The butterflies in my stomach settled as I realized he wasn't just making a courtesy call. He'd been following my work for months through industry connections. He was genuinely impressed by how I transformed client relationships and streamlined processes at Meridian. I've been watching the efficiency metrics coming out of your department for over a year, Nora, he said, his voice clear through my headphones. Unlike Victor, Gabriel's home office backdrop revealed actual technical books and a whiteboard covered in system architecture diagrams. What caught my attention wasn't just the numbers, but how consistent the improvement curves were. That doesn't happen by accident. I felt a surge of pride warm my cheeks. Someone had actually noticed the patterns in the data, something no one at my current company had bothered to do. Would you mind walking me through your system? He asked, leaning forward with genuine interest. For the next 40 minutes, I shared my screen and demonstrated the project management system I'd built. Gabriel asked insightful questions that showed he actually understood the technical complexities behind it. Each time he nodded with understanding, the weight of years of being dismissed at Meridian seemed to lift from my shoulders. He didn't just offer me a job, he offered me a partnership role, complete with creative control over my systems implementation across their entire organization, with flexibility to work from their downtown Chicago office or remotely as needed. We've been looking for someone like you, Nora, he said, as the contract appeared in my email with a gentle ping. Someone who understands that results matter in this industry. The salary is triple what you're making now, plus equity in the company and full patent recognition. I opened the contract, my hands steady despite my racing heart, sending vibrations through my entire body. This was what recognition felt like. This was what it felt like to be valued for my mind, rather than my ability to laugh at the right moments in meetings. I'll need to review the details, I said, fighting to keep my voice professional when what I really wanted to do was pump my fist in triumph. But I'm very interested, Mr. Montgomery. Please, call me Gabriel, he said with a warm smile that reached his eyes. We're going to do great things together, Nora. As I ended the call, I sat back in my chair and let the tears of validation finally flow, the glow of my monitors illuminating the tiny apartment that had been my workshop all these years. My phone buzzed with another passive-aggressive message from Allison, but for once, I didn't feel the sharp sting of resentment. Instead, I felt something new: anticipation.
The day I remotely deactivated my company credentials, Victor scheduled an urgent video call. I joined from my apartment, coffee in hand, secretly enjoying how the tables had turned. The smug smile was gone from his face. replaced by something that looked almost like panic as he held up his tablet displaying my report. Nora, we need to talk about this analytics dashboard you included with your resignation letter, he said, his voice strained as he shared his screen to show the detailed visualizations of my system's impact. His hands were visibly shaking. Why didn't you tell us about this system before? I sat up straighter, smoothing my shirt as I did. The morning sunlight streamed through my window, catching on the framed patent certificate I'd hung on my wall just yesterday. I tried, Victor. 3 times in the past year. I requested meetings to discuss implementing new efficiency measures. You said we needed to focus on team dynamics and social media presence instead. His face paled as he scrolled through the pages, the implications of what he was seeing finally sinking in. But this is revolutionary, the potential savings alone. And you've already patented it? His voice cracked on the word patented, a small satisfaction that sent a thrill of vindication through me. I nodded, not bothering to hide my satisfaction. I have, and I've accepted a position with Innovatech. They're very excited about implementing the system company-wide. The words tasted like sweet victory on my tongue. Victor slumped in his chair, the full weight of his mistake finally hitting him. His eyes darted to something. Off camera, probably an executive chat window blowing up with questions. Innovatech, our biggest competitor? Nora? You can't. What about loyalty to the company? Loyalty? I couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing in my apartment. Like the loyalty you showed me when you promoted Allison. Like the loyalty you showed when you dismissed every suggestion I made. Because I wasn't enough of a team player? I leaned toward my camera, my confidence growing with each word. You know what the funny thing is? Victor, if you'd looked past your biases, if you'd actually paid attention to the metrics I was achieving instead of focusing on who brought you coffee or posted the most engaging team selfies, none of this would be happening. But you didn't, and now. Innovatech is going to have an advantage that you can't match. We'll match any offer they made, he said quickly, desperation creeping into his voice as sweat beaded on his forehead. We'll promote you to senior director. Just don't go to Innovatech. I shook my head, almost pitying him. It's not about the money or the title, Victor. It's about respect. It's about recognizing value. And you've made it very clear where you stand on that. As I ended the call for the last time, I caught a glimpse of him frantically reaching for his phone, probably calling the executive team to figure out damage control. But it was too late. The patent was mine, the new job was signed, and Allison... Well, Allison would soon learn that taking screenshots of other people's work only gets you so far. When you actually have to deliver results yourself. That evening, as I archived my final company emails, I found a message from Allison bristling with false cheer. Sorry to see you go. Keep in touch. Team Meridian. Renew. Chapter. I smiled as I deleted it. Oh, she'd be hearing about me all right. The whole industry would be. My first day at Innovatech felt like stepping into a different world. Instead of logging into a cramped virtual workspace, I joined a sleek hybrid meeting where half the team was in their modern downtown Chicago office and half connected remotely. My welcome package had arrived. Yesterday, top-of-the-line equipment and a digital nameplate for my profile. Nora Hayes, Director of Operations and Strategic Innovation. But the real difference wasn't in the equipment or the title. It was in how people treated me. Gabriel Montgomery, the CEO, had called an all-hands video conference to introduce me. Standing at the front of the physical conference room, with remote participants' faces displayed on a massive wall screen, he didn't just announce my position. He walked through my technical achievements, explained the value of my management system with actual data points, and made it clear that I would have full authority to implement changes across the organization. Nora isn't just joining our team, he said, his voice carrying through my headphones as clearly as if I were in the room. She's bringing with her a revolutionary approach to project management that will transform how we operate. I expect everyone to give her their full cooperation. The chat sidebar exploded with welcome messages from team members, both in-office and remote. My throat tightened with emotion as I scrolled through messages that praised my past work and expressed excitement about my system. The contrast to my old company couldn't have been more stark. There I'd been the quiet workhorse, the one who got things done but was never acknowledged in team meetings. Here, I was being celebrated for exactly what Victor had dismissed my focus, on results and technical excellence. As Gabriel finished his introduction, he asked, Nora, would you like to say a few words? My heart hammered in my chest, but for once it wasn't anxiety, it was excitement. I unmuted myself and began to speak about my vision for the company's future. For the first time in my professional life, no one interrupted me or talked over me. Instead, I watched faces nodding along, genuinely interested in what I had to say. When I finished, the chat exploded again with supportive messages, and the in-office team actually stood up in a virtual standing ovation, their enthusiasm carrying through the screen and wrapping around me like a warm embrace. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes, not from hurt or frustration, but from the profound relief of finally being seen for what I could contribute. But the real satisfaction came 3 months later. I was leading a hybrid team meeting from Innovatech's Chicago office, when my phone buzzed with a text from my old colleague Ethan. "You might want to check the industry news feed. Something big just dropped about Meridian." Meridian caught me, old company? My heart skipped a beat as curiosity flashed through me. I smoothly delegated the next agenda item to my project lead and stepped out of the glass-walled conference room, pulling up the industry news site on my tablet. The headline made me catch my breath. Meridian Corp stock falls 30% following disastrous quarter. The article detailed how Meridian had lost 3 major clients in the past quarter, with several others threatening to follow. Project delays had skyrocketed, costs had spiraled out of control, and efficiency metrics had dropped to all-time lows. A rush of vindication washed over me as I scrolled through the devastating numbers that confirmed everything I'd predicted would happen without my system in place. As I continued reading, one quote caught my eye. It was from Dominic Wright, one of our biggest former clients. "The quality of service at Meridian has deteriorated significantly in recent months. Projects that used to be completed smoothly are now constantly delayed. It's like they completely lost their organizational structure overnight." I couldn't help but smile, a mixture of satisfaction and melancholy swirling in my chest. Those smoothly running projects? They'd all been managed through my system. The organizational structure they lost? That was the framework I'd built over 5 years, the one Victor had never bothered to understand despite my repeated attempts to explain it. My phone buzzed again, another text from Ethan. "Allison's having a complete meltdown on Slack. She can't handle the workload, and her Instagram hasn't been updated in weeks. Victor is getting hammered in executive calls. He finally realizes she has no idea what she's doing." I set my phone down, thinking about the irony of it all. Allison, who'd spent 2 years taking screenshots of other people's work for her portfolio, was finally being forced to produce results on her own. And Victor, who'd chosen style over substance, was watching his department crumble beneath him while trying to explain to the board why their most valuable asset had walked out the door. But I had bigger things to focus on. At Innovatech, my system was already showing remarkable results that exceeded even my own expectations. Project completion times had been cut in half, client satisfaction scores were at record highs, and our efficiency metrics were climbing steadily each week. Gabriel had already approved my proposal to expand the system company-wide, and we were in talks with several major clients who wanted to license the technology. As I walked back into the meeting, both in-person and remote team members looked up at me with respect in their eyes. This was where I belonged somewhere. My work mattered more than my social media presence. One morning, about 6 months after I'd left Meridian, I walked into my downtown office to find Gabriel waiting for me, his tablet displaying an industry news site. "Have you seen this?" he asked, turning the screen toward me. The headline read, "Meridian Corp CEO steps down amid continuing crisis." I nodded, taking the tablet from him. The familiar rush of validation mixed with a strange sense of closure washed over me as I scanned the article. "Word is they're completely restructuring the company," Gabriel said, watching my reaction carefully. The board finally realized how badly they'd mismanaged their talent pool. His eyes conveyed a silent acknowledgement of my worth that made my chest warm with pride. "Apparently they tried to recreate your system, but without the underlying architecture, it wouldn't work," I finished for him, handing back the tablet. "The system isn't just about the code or the interface. It's about understanding how all the pieces fit together and anticipating workflow patterns before they emerge." My voice carried the confidence of someone who knew her value, so different from the hesitant tones I'd used at Meridian. Gabriel smiled, the kind of smile that said he knew exactly what he had in me. "Which is why we're announcing your promotion to executive." Vice President next week. The board voted unanimously after seeing the quarterly numbers. They've seen what you've done here in just 6 months and they want more. I felt a warmth spread through my chest. A physical sensation of being valued that I'd never experienced at Meridian. This was what recognition felt like. This was what it meant to be valued for your actual contributions, not just your ability to play office politics or curate the perfect work-life Instagram feed. Thank you, I said simply, letting my genuine gratitude show. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Gabriel replied. Results speak for themselves, Nora. And yours are shouting. Later that day, I received an unexpected email while working from my apartment. My heart jumped when I saw the sender, Victor Reynolds. My finger hovered over the delete button, but curiosity won out. I took a deep breath and clicked to open it. Nora, I hope this finds you well. I'm sure you've heard about the changes at Meridian. I wanted to reach out and acknowledge that I made a massive mistake in not recognizing your value to the company. The system you built was the backbone of our success, and we didn't realize it until it was gone. I'm no longer with Meridianthe board asked for my resignation last week. Before I left, I made sure. They knew that this could have been avoided if we'd listened to you. Alison resigned a month ago. Turns out managing actual projects is a lot harder than taking credit for other people's work and posting team selfies. I know it's too late to fix things, but I wanted you to know that you were right. Results do matter. I just wish I'd seen that sooner. Best regards, Victor. I read the email twice, letting the words sink in, my emotions swirling like a storm. There was a time when this kind of acknowledgement would have meant everything to me, when I would have printed it out and framed it as validation. Now, sitting in my apartment that doubled as my home office at Innovatech, preparing for another board meeting where my ideas would be heard and valued, it felt like a footnote in a story that had already moved on. I clicked reply and typed a simple response, my fingers steady on the keyboard. Victor, thank you for your email. You're right, results do matter. I hope you find success in your future endeavors. Best, Nora. As I hit send, I glanced at the framed patent certificate hanging on my wall, the one for my management system. Below it was a fresh plaque commemorating our record-breaking quarter, and beside that, a news article featuring me as one of the industry's rising stars. I thought about how far I'd come from that day in Victor's glass-walled conference room. When he told me I was too focused on results, that criticism had turned out to be the greatest compliment he could have given me, because here, in my new role with my new team, those results were changing the industry. The ache of being undervalued had faded, replaced by the quiet confidence of someone who knew her worth. The next morning, I led a hybrid team meeting from my downtown office. As I looked around the conference room at the eager faces physically present, and the equally engaged remote participants on the large screen, people who respected me, who valued my input, who were excited to learn from me, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction tingling through me. Today, I began, adjusting my webcam to ensure remote team members could see me clearly. We're going to talk about our next big project. But first, I want to share a story about the importance of recognizing value not just in systems or processes, but in people. I took a breath, feeling more confident than I'd ever been at Meridian. 6 months ago, I was told I was too focused on results, that focusing on measurable outcomes wasn't as important as being seen as a team player. My voice carried steadily through both the physical room and across the digital connection to remote workers. As I spoke, I could see understanding dawn in their eyes, both in person and on screen. They got it. They understood that success isn't just about playing the game or posting the right content. It's about creating real value and having the courage to stand by your convictions when no one else will. Sometimes I realized the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about moving forward, about building something better than what you left behind. Victor, Alison, and Meridian Corp had taught me that valuable lesson, even if they hadn't meant to. The sting of rejection had transformed into the fuel that powered my greatest achievement. When I finished speaking, both the in-office team and those joining remotely erupted in a spontaneous round of applause that filled me with warmth. The chat sidebar flooded with supportive messages. This wasn't just professional respect, this was genuine appreciation for the path I'd taken. As I drove home that evening, I passed by the Meridian Court building. The logo that once seemed so imposing now looked tired and dated. A for lease sign hung in one of the windows. They were downsizing. Another casualty of their poor management decisions and failure to recognize true talent. But I didn't feel any triumph at their downfall. Instead, I felt strangely grateful. Grateful that they had underestimated me. Grateful that they had pushed me away. Grateful that they had forced me to prove my worth, not just to them, but to myself. The rejection that had once cut so deeply had become the catalyst for my greatest success. Because sometimes the biggest opportunities come disguised as rejection. Sometimes being too focused on results is exactly what you need to be in an industry obsessed with style over substance. And sometimes the best response to someone undervaluing you is to show them exactly what they missed out on through your subsequent success. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ethan. Meridian's board is asking about you. They want to know if you'd consider coming back as CEO to save the company. I smiled as I typed my response, the weight of vindication warming my chest. Thanks, but I'm exactly where I need to be. And because success isn't just about proving others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. It's about standing firm in your convictions, even when others doubt you. It's about knowing your worth when no one else does, and not settling for less than you deserve. As I pulled into my driveway, I thought about all the other Noras out. Their talented people being overlooked because they were too focused on results, instead of building their personal brand. Maybe my story would inspire them to stand their ground, to believe in their value, to create their own opportunities, instead of waiting for recognition that might never come. After all, sometimes the best way to handle rejection is to turn it into rocket. Fuelto use it as motivation to build something better, something stronger, something that makes them realize exactly what they lost, when they failed to see your potential. And as I sat down at my home office, my dual monitors glowing in the evening light as I reviewed the latest proposals for expanding our system globally, I couldn't help but smile at the irony. Because in the end, Victor had been right about one thing. I was too focused on results, and that focus had taken me exactly where I needed to be somewhere. My contributions were valued, not for how they looked on social media, but for the real difference they made.